Jamie Geller.
Hey.
How are you? In my Bubby's house. This is like an honor.
It's an honor to be here. I just sad I miss Bubby.
Yeah, well, Bubby's, she sends her regards.
Okay,
and
good.
I bless her for allowing me to use this space. I think the kitchen that we're sitting in, it must be one of the most popular kitchens in the internet because
More popular than mine?
Oh, okay. Ooh, we're going for views right now?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, snap.
No, tell me all about it, Meir.
Well, yeah, I was just going to share that, a lot of the short films that I've created online with a lot of motivational, inspirational content are taking place here in this kitchen.
So
they're viewed. But it's good to know you film your videos in your own home.
I also film in a kitchen.
In a kitchen, but in your kitchen?
Sometimes, yeah, and in my sister-in-law's kitchen, and in my sister-in-law's kitchen.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I've been all over.
You're the expert in kitchens. What makes a good kitchen a good kitchen?
That it allows for conversation. So this thing called here the island, right, which is like the centerpiece of the kitchen, to have bar stools and to be able to have people leaning on one side and leaning on the other side and just chilling, like the kitchen is the heart of the home, and so that is what I think makes a good kitchen.
So that's interesting. You're really great we all know, with food and with the ingredients and with recipes, but it seems like you have an eye for interior design as well.
Ooh.
Is that something you get from your mother? I heard she's an incredible interior designer.
That's so. Ooh. You are surprising me. First of all, you don't get to interview, and sometimes people really don't do research, but this is like deep research.
We're going deep.
Yes, my mother is an amazing interior designer, and I have literally been pulling out like pages of Architectural Digest since I'm 3.
Wow.
When I got married, I carried my little folder with me to like my new apartment, and now everything's on Pinterest, obviously.
Of course.
But yeah, I'm obsessed with interior design.
That's amazing. Do you also follow any of the shows? Do you have time to even watch? But if you do, is that something that interests you?
Zero time to watch. I don't watch it all except when I'm traveling. So that's when I'm like up for 3-4 days straight because of jet lag or working or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I just watch like HGTV and Food Network like all through the night.
Oh, come on. I mean, so your life is all around food and all. Is there anything that you just, when you want to shut down, how do you occupy yourself in that way?
So it's so interesting that you say this because I woke up the other day and I said, I have never, ever, ever taken a day off work. I had babies, thank God, 6. I had brisses, thank God. I've traveled. I've never, ever taken off. It doesn't mean to say I didn't take a vacation with my husband or my kids, but I'll work in the morning, I'll work in the day, I'll check in at night, I'll work overnight so that we can do something fun.
Wow.
So that's my new thing. That I'm going to find a day to take off.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do nothing.
Just
People don't believe that I could do nothing. I really want to try. I want to prove someone wrong.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with you, and we just met for the first time.
Yeah.
I've admired your work from afar, and we've talked a bit over social
Likewise,
media.
totally.
Thank you. But
Yeah.
being in your presence, you definitely exude an incredible, positive, enthusiastic energy, and it's really great to see that in person.
That means a lot coming from you because you quite have a lot of energy that needs to be matched. So I love that.
Thank you. So is this something that you've acquired? I've seen some of your films that you've done on live TV with live audiences. Is that something that you've had a personality since you were a young child, or that you've developed? Do you have a coach that helps you out before such gigs?
It's so great. So no, I love the stage. I was born loving the stage and performing always. So I think that's where I come alive. And the more people in the room, I don't know if you feel this way because you do a lot of production.
Yeah.
When I'm speaking to an audience, when there's live there's nothing like that. It's electrifying.
Yeah.
And then you just can't hold back. So I don't have a coach or anything. And the first time I went and did a television show for one of my cookbooks, I did a recipe and I was trying to express how easy it was. So I said, it's so simple. You just dump and serve. So
dump and serve.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then my publicist after, she's like, you were amazing. You're a natural. You're so great at this. So it was my first appearance in promoting my cookbook. Wow. She said, can I just tell you, don't ever use the word dump again when you're describing food. I was like, okay. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, so
I
have definitely gotten critiques along the way, but no official kind of coach. That's so nice to hear.
That's amazing. Okay, so take me back. So just before we jump into take me back to Jamie Geller before pre all this during coaching and whatnot. What's that Jamie Geller team look like? Are you doing everything yourself? At this point, do you have a team around you that helps you with all the stuff that's taking place?
First of all, it takes a village. And I'm sure you know this, for everything. So while I do have a very lean, what I like to call core team, we work with 101 experts, vendors, consultants, production companies, depending where we are in the world and what we're doing, because different types of projects and content and creative requires different types of partners. So we have a slew of amazing, talented people that get things done. But as a core team, we're pretty lean. We're 3 of us.
Wow. What do those titles look like?
So I have a director of digital media / editorial director, and she basically does everything.
Okay, amazing.
And then we have
delegation is key.
Yes, totally. Yeah, everything, Tamar. And I love you, Tamar.
Oh, shout out to Tamar.
Yeah, she's probably not going to watch it. She doesn't even have time to watch all my stuff, So, and we've been together for 10 years.
Wow.
So we often travel together, and we're like in Ubers together. And so what happens is people always think we're a couple because
it's cute.
Yeah, a few years ago, so 7 years ago, I made Aliyah, and then 5 years ago, she made Aliyah with her husband and family.
Wow.
So we'll be in an Uber, like in some random city, like Jacksonville, Florida, and the driver will be like, "Where are you guys from?" And we're like, "Israel." So then it just like,
it's cute. Like, it's the first time you guys coming out to Jacksonville.
Literally, yeah. They haven't seen people like us before. So that's Tamar, and then we have an email marketing manager, which is Shmuel. He is amazing, so great, and then we have a part-time social media person too.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like creations of recipes and whatnot, it all comes back to you.
Oh no, we have a test kitchen team. We have a video production team.
Right.
We got
circle gets one.
Yeah. You could just keep going.
For sure. And I mean, of course, it would be amiss to not mention perhaps the husband, your partner in life, who you just mentioned you have 6 kids and you're traveling and you're moving and shaking. What does that relationship look like, and how does one with a career like yours able to balance the family and career life?
Well, he's like my everything. He's my best friend.
I just have to say your voice has changed. It's like, there's Tamar Shmuel, my bubala.
Okay. So he's a 6'3" bubala. But he doesn't watch this stuff either, by the way.
Okay.
And also my dad doesn't watch this. My mom will watch this. Yeah, she'll love that you mentioned her. Yeah,
Mom. Okay, shout out to mom. There we go. Is that healthy for a relationship that your husband doesn't watch you as you are as a persona, or? Is there a separation?
I don't think it was like purposeful or anything. He's just not into this kind of stuff.
Okay. He has 6 kids to raise.
Yeah. Thank God. So, and we do everything together, and life is really busy. And he's just like my rock and my support. And he like talks me off the ledge all the time. And I think everyone in the limelight needs a number one fan and cheerleader. And between my mom and him, it's like no one can get a room in there.
Dad just sits there and his head just goes like back and forth, like looking at one. Is he more of the quieter, subdued guy?
He is so quiet, so subdued. I'm like on the Today Show. He's like, great, And so I'm like, Dad,
today?
Yeah. I'm like, do you know the name of my website? He's like, no. I'm like, it's jamiegeller.com. He's like, oh, that's a good name.
Okay.
So he's chill. They're immigrants. He's like,
From where?
My parents are from Transylvania.
Transylvania.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they immigrated to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I know.
I like that. That's
totally.
interesting.
Yeah.
What's similar to home but not home right now?
Yeah.
Pennsylvania? Okay, that's where we're going.
Totally.
I spent some time in Transylvania. Actually, I did I ran a Pesach program, a Passover Seder in Cluj-Napoca, which is just right there in Romania.
Unbelievable.
So it was very interesting. Yeah.
How was that?
It was incredible. It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
It was really, really cool. From a young age, it really threw me, just growing up in Chabad, it threw you into leadership roles. And I think I give a lot of credit to that upbringing. But going back to quickly, when you were dating your husband, did you have this dream? Did you have this idea of building a brand like you were? Or this all came to a surprise? And if yes, how did he pivot into that?
Yeah, so no, this was always the dream, but it was never in food. So I was a TV producer. I didn't grow up religious at all. And the goal was always to make my way into the front of the camera. Yeah. And so I had lots of opportunities that finally, after working so hard at HBO, at CNN, at Food Network, all the opportunities to get in front of the camera finally came right when I got married. And it was so interesting because it's something I'd been working toward for 10 years almost.
Right.
And then suddenly I got married and I had become more religious and I didn't want to have a TV in my home and I didn't want to raise my kids like that. And we moved out to Far Rockaway and it just would not have been accepted at that time. And now I think it's a different time and I definitely think there are many opportunities, but at that time it would have been like,
oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned, you went to school for broadcasting and journalism, which is amazing. So your eye was on the goal.
Always.
So how did it come to you learned all these skills?
Yeah.
How did you apply it to food and why food?
Yeah, it was basically a happy mistake. Like I learned on the job. My husband's like, "What's for dinner?"
Oh, okay.
I'm like, "I don't know. You tell me."
So he came from more of a traditional home where mom and wife was in the kitchen and
and like I don't know, my mom actually has never turned on her oven. She literally said to me when I became religious, like, you can come eat here. I've never turned on the oven. It's totally cool. We're kosher. And I use my oven for sweaters for storage in Manhattan. I was not trained to be a balabusta.
You were career driven.
So very much so. It was like CEO, doctor, lawyer, like not barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Like that's not like a immigrant's dreams for her daughters in America where women can be anything, you know?
Yeah.
So I was definitely not trained, not domestic at all. I never did laundry. I never like sewed a button.
Oh my gosh.
I still know how to sew still. But yeah. So yeah, totally. Is that really fun? I save all my clothes in a pile, and when my mother-in-law comes, I'm like, here, yeah, she's amazing.
That's a great segue because I'm wondering, how did that relationship take place earlier on with your mother-in-law? Because with your husband coming from a background where traditional roles are like he works and you stay in the kitchen and have the babies, was she surprised and was there some friction there because you were like, hey, I want to build a career. I do not want to fall into this category. Right. How did that relationship take place? It
wasn't so traditional. In his house, his mother cooked and his father cooked.
Okay.
Yeah, and all of his uncles and his father all grew up in catering. They worked in catering many years. So when my husband was like, what's for dinner? He's like, when I said, you tell me, he said, okay, let's go. So we went shopping together and he literally taught me how to cook.
Oh, wow.
And his mother is a very professional. And she is the executive director of United Cerebral Palsy of Nassau County. She's like 250 people that report to her.
Okay.
So
amazing.
Yeah, my husband had dated for a while, and then when finally, we got engaged, someone said had known both of us but had not set us up. She said, if I would have known you were looking to marry your mother, I would have set you up with Jamie a long time ago.
Oh.
So he's in strong, career-oriented women. Great. When he said, what's for dinner? He was literally like, let's, what are we gonna do? You do it, I'll do it, we'll do it together.
Amazing. So he's a cook himself, and
to this day we love to be in the kitchen together. It is so much fun. I always say, like, now the student has become the teacher. So he's my sous chef now. Oh. So like if I'm gonna make like anything, like a cook for 20, everything will come in, all of my vegetables will be cut and chopped and prepped. He employs all the kids. It's like an army. Wow. You literally see like 30 pounds of potatoes going. It's like slave labor.
Wow. It's amazing. Okay. Get the kids. Or do you have any kids of your own that are interested in following this line of work in your career?
They all love food, and they all love cooking, and they all love eating. So that's really good. It's a pleasure. Yes. And one of them is a little bit like dramatic. And at one time I was like, I don't know where she gets it from. And then everyone's like,
oh, but I wonder.
Yeah, and now it's so obvious. I just see her, like anything with a reflection, she just starts performing. It's like the china cabinet, the side of a car door. And like, that's me. I'm always like, so yeah. I see one.
Start figuring out where it's coming from right now.
Yeah.
So so take me back to the time where, young, early 20s, you're going to school, broadcasting. You weren't religious then, right? You didn't grow up in an Orthodox home at all.
No.
What sparked you within that you said, hey, I want to transition into this lifestyle?
So I had been brought up to be very career oriented and very driven. And I was interviewing the biggest celebrities in the world at the time, working for CNN for entertainment news for them.
Name drop.
So, Beyonce.
Oh, okay. Queen Bee?
Yeah.
Oh, one queen to another. Now you're known as the queen of kosher, right?
I never thought of that.
Yeah, so hey,
totally.
A little shout out. I see you.
Totally. The J Hive.
Okay.
Bayhive? No.
Nope. Okay. No, yeah. Over my head.
Okay. Yeah. Her followers are called the Bayhive.
I love
for
that.
Beyonce. Yeah. So all the people call their followers something. I don't know
what do they call?
I don't. You obviously don't have a name for your followers either.
Do you don't have one either?
I just named them the J Hive. I don't know.
J-Hive. Okay, I like that. J Hive. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna stick.
The Culminators. Collinson. I don't know. Okay. We're gonna work on it.
Yeah. We got to work on it.
Okay.
So So Beyonce, Michael Douglas, Eminem. Snoop Dogg. I did a lot of music at the time. Ben Affleck, Matt Damon.
Wow. So, A-listers.
Yeah. And my mother was so excited that I was like, going to the Oscars and the Emmys and the MTV Music Awards and the VH1 Fashion Awards and interviewing all these celebrities. But she was like, God forbid, like I want my daughter to be so successful, but I want her to have a nice Jewish husband to show for it. And she didn't think I was going to find them at the after party of the Oscars.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
She was a little bit nervous after all that she built up this like Manhattan executive and like, where am I meeting this nice Jewish fella?
Sure.
So she sent me.
Isn't the music industry full of young Jewish men?
I mean, I guess so. Behind the scenes. Yeah. I guess so. But,
who knows? It's still not the typical place.
Yes.
Totally.
So she sent me to Torah classes like in the city for like young Jewish single professionals, and that's where it all began.
Wow,
Yeah.
wonderful. And that's where you eventually came out.
No, so first I was like, interested in the single scene. Fine, Mom, I'll go. And then I got interested in the Torah. And then I was like, oh, I'm so interested in Torah. I don't want to be in a single scene. I want to only be learning with women. Then I quit my job and I went to seminary. And then I got a call when I was at Neve, like, can you be on the set of Sopranos tomorrow? And I was like, oh, sure. I could be there.
Incredible.
Because I quit my job because I worked for a live show. It was called Showbiz Today. And I think now it's called Showbiz Tonight. But it's for CNN. It's their entertainment news show. And it was live every day at 4:30. And I decided I wanted to become Shomer Shabbos in December when Shabbos starts at 4.
Wow.
So I had to quit that job. But if I was going to work for HBO, which wasn't live TV, I could have my cake and eat it too. So I came back and worked on Sopranos and Sex and the City and Mind of a Married Man, Madonna concert, Janet Jackson concert, all the boxing matches. And
Wow. I'm like, wow.
Totally. Yeah.
So that's an mouthful right there. That's a lot. What drew you to wanting to keep Shabbos? What kept on pushing you to delve a bit deeper into the religious lifestyle?
Well, I think I never had this level of exposure to it. So once I really was exposed to it in such a beautiful way, and once I was invited to people's homes to experience what Shabbos is like, because growing up you think it's a bunch of who's not going out Friday night, and like who's not eating what they want to eat. Like I don't want to hear I want to eat what I want to eat, go where I want to go. And definitely in the Orthodox world, women are so suppressed and they're second-class citizens. It's not for me. I love Judaism, but I'll be sort of this I grew up conservative, like identifying, proud, but like doing what I want to do when I want to do it.
Sure.
And so, but the Shabbos experience was incredible. And I think when I saw the relationships, that's the thing that really affected me, seeing those relationships between husband and wife and parent and child, and having come from a home where my parents were divorced and married again and then divorced again. And it's a lot, and so I think I really craved that, like what Shabbos seemed to bring in terms of stability to family life, and that's what I think turned me on to it.
Got it. What is your favorite mitzvah?
V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha.
Okay. We have so much in common, you and I.
Yeah,
That's
totally,
great.
like twins.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. You're a career-driven woman, and it sounds like, this is something that was instilled within you from a very young age. You wanted to go about doing this.
Yeah.
Now, in this day and age with social media, there's a lot more going out there with bloggers, food bloggers. It's a lot more mainstream that women are breaking down the traditional roles and taking leadership roles in the space of food and any type of profession. But 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when you started out, it wasn't that popular.
Yeah.
When you started out, was there a certain resistance, coming forth, being in front of the camera, taking a leadership role, perhaps not from your family, but from the community?
There was. I think we did a lot of consulting in my first book. We put a picture of me just on the inside flap next to my bio. And then I got cold feet. And for the subsequent printings, it's in its 7th printing, we took out the picture.
Oh.
And now it's like everyone has a reality TV show of themselves, their kids, their family, but then it was not very accepted at all. And they were even scared if the Jewish bookstores would carry the book with a picture of me in it.
Wow.
So it's very, very different. And getting in front of the camera was not done at that time by an Orthodox religious woman. And certainly to be the CEO of a company, and a company that's a media company, was also. So it was a lot of breaking down barriers, but I didn't experience resistance. It just was like when you're among that first, it's like you're learning as you go and figuring things out as you go. And it's hard not to have role models to look up to.
Right. So what were some of the specific challenges when you just started off? On a professional aspect, and also as one that's breaking barriers in the Orthodox world?
Well, I think I always find myself in a room with men. It's just like just a lot of other executives or other just people in my industry. It was like so heavily male. So I think it was very hard and interesting to how do you navigate that as a religious, modest woman, but still you don't want to lose your personality. And I'm like full of life, and I used to hug everyone before,
Yes,
so like I would look up and be like, hi, So
Yeah.
it's like how that was like really finding myself in that particular, role, I think was really interesting. And then how also sometimes to act like the men to get something done, but then also not to act like them. Like I figure I have certain kochos, I have certain powers and certain style that's different than theirs. I don't have to be like them. I can bring my energy and style to the table and warmth. And I think that now, obviously, it's totally different, but that's kind of some of the things I was confronted with in the beginning.
Yeah, and so when you started, building the career, when was a time where you realized like, wow, I'm actually onto something? Like this is taking fold. This is happening.
It's so funny. The second person to ask me that in like 2 days, someone said, "When did that happen?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't think you realize it when it's happening, and I also think because I have this parallel life. I'm like married, having baby after baby after baby. And like all of this, it's like, you're not even almost like I almost like you woke up, sometimes you drive somewhere and you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And you were totally awake, but like, literally it's like, how did I get here? You turn around one day, you have 6 kids and you have a business and you have, this following and.
Wow. So, I mean, looking back in that life, is there anything that you would do different?
Probably tons of things. People always say, no, I would do nothing different. And I'm here because of how everything happened.
Yes.
I made so many mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
So many.
Like what's some of the mistakes you made?
I think in dealing with people. I think you learn that kindness is better than being, again, you learn from kind of this male CEO dominated space where it's like, kill them, show them. And I just feel like I was a bit too aggressive in some relationships, professional relationships, and some of those negotiations. And I think I've learned to chill out a little bit, but I definitely would go back. I wish some of the things I had done, I hadn't done.
That's such valuable advice, and I appreciate that honesty because I think a lot of people just brush off whatever is done, but I think it's an incredible character trait to be able to reflect back, and that's something that I'm doing in my life now to just look back and say, hey, where did I have a hand in a relationship? Where could I have shown up a bit better instead of just blaming or putting responsibility on somebody else, but taking responsibility and saying, hey, perhaps I could have gone a bit differently. I can't change that, but I can learn from that and move forward.
Exactly. So maybe in a sense it happened, but you only don't want to change it if you've learned from it.
Yes.
Yes. So, and I just feel like relationships are so key to every single thing in life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your relationship with your children, with your neighbors, or in the business setting. And I think that handling people with care, and I think that's why I picked, without even thinking about it, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha.
Yeah.
Because once I got treated either unprofessionally or burned or scorned, then I was like, I have done this and I cannot be doing this anymore.
Wow. Was there a moment in your growth, in your career, that you doubted yourself, that you were challenged and you said, you know what, I'm going to give up?
Every single day.
Yeah. It still happens today?
It still happens today. I think obviously a perfectionist and a very entrepreneurial driven person is the hardest on themselves. And so when I said my husband always has to pull me off of a ledge, they do. And I think people also in front of the camera are very, very, very hard on themselves as well. And so, I'm a little.
Is there one thought, one loop that comes back to your mind that comes at you that says oh, you're gonna I don't know, this is not the right way to do it, or you're not good enough, or you're gonna mess up? Is there that one? What's that?
You're not good enough. You don't deserve to be here. That is always, I think, what comes back. And I only feel comfortable sharing it because I've heard a lot of people who have had great success feel that they're undeserving of that position. Yeah. And so when you sit here and it's like, I'm the CEO of a global food media company. We are the most watched Jewish food network in the world. We have almost 1 billion views. Wow. And I sit here all the time and I think, I don't deserve it. That wasn't good enough. I'm not creative enough. That wasn't strong enough. I didn't think strategically enough on that. Whatever it was, what am I going to do next?
Yes, right. That idea as well. I relate to that completely. So what are some things that you do to get out of that funk or to break out of that cycle?
Right. So I guess you asked me, what do I do to disconnect? So I guess I do something. I listen to, I'm obsessed. They're not paying me, but Torah Anytime.
Okay.
And there's one rabbi there, official Schechter. I've never met him. I'm dying to. And I want to bring him to speak to, he really, I think really speaks to my soul, and so much about just growth and strength. And I think he gives that strength to continue every day. And our job is just to get up every day and go. You just keep going forward. Even when sometimes you don't have the answers, you're regretting what you did last time. You don't know, you're nervous about what you're planning, right? Yeah. Every time you do something, will it be well received? Yes. Will it flop? And the bigger that you are, the harder and you fall. And it's such a public failure when it's a failure, and it's almost like when you have the freedom. We had freedom at a certain time in our careers. We could just do anything. It didn't matter. Something took off, something didn't.
Yes.
Now it's the pressure is on. Yeah. And when you're always trying to innovate and trying to do something different, and we launch different businesses. We just launched J-Chef, which is a kosher meal kit delivery service. The only national kosher food meal kit delivery service in the world.
Wow.
And it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Blue Apron, HelloFresh, Plated. I didn't invent the industry, but we're just bringing it to the kosher consumer. You know, how's it going to go?
How will that take off? Who's going to go? It's an investment. It's a risk. Yeah.
So, but I really feel like Rav Schachter and these Torah classes, they speak to my soul, and you just keep going. Yeah. You get up and you keep going and you
keep showing up.
And the success or failure, right? The mazel, it's from Hashem. It's from God. And when I sit here, and something my husband always says to me, because I'm always like, it didn't go well because I did this or I did that. He said, you're taking the power. Just the same way you can't take the power. It's successful because Hashem made it successful.
Yes.
It also was not successful because Hashem also made that not be successful.
Yeah. Deciding that, what we can do is we can put the effort and take control of how we want to present it and bring the strength, energy, and creativity. Yeah. But then once we put it out there, it's out there, and it's all in God's hands, and it's not us anymore.
Yeah, and we spoke about virality, right?
Yes.
Did you know any of your things were going to go viral? Or did you have a feeling when you were making it?
It's a great question. I mean, sometimes I felt like, okay, this is a great idea, and it's going to go, and it actually goes viral. Uh-huh. And then sometimes I'm like, this is a great idea, and it doesn't go viral. Yeah. And then sometimes, like, we were just talking about some videos that we don't put so much effort into it, and they get hit. So, is there a science to it? Yes, perhaps there are some hooks that you could do on some specific things that I've worked in the past. But ultimately, it is out of control, and there's so much that's happening, algorithms and times and this, and what I've just found is consistency, bringing the passion, showing up and doing it.
Yeah.
Because what I fell into the pit of hanging on to the views and like the numbers and being accepted by the viewer, and so initially, that first 10,000 hits was such a thrill, but like anything else. The next time I got 10,000 hits, it wouldn't do it for me. Yeah. I wanted more. And I only was chasing that until finally I broke that cycle, realized that it's really not about the numbers game. And then we started from zero, which is just showing up, having a good time, enjoying the process. Right. And whether the number gets 1 million or less than 500, I'm still I'm still doing what I love. And it's what a blessing to do that. And B, each and single person who's seen that is connecting with something like that. I'm connecting with them, and they're the world. So I think that change of focus really has brought a lot more serenity and a lot more peace of mind and soul to self.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I just feel like the ego is so fragile. Yeah. And it's amazing that you're able to overcome seeing sometimes when the numbers might not reach what you had hoped. I still find that hard.
Yeah, taking that time. Fair enough. How do we do?
Yeah.
It's natural, it's normal. Yeah. And automatically for so many years I've trained myself to think that way and to behave that way.
Sure.
That I still do that, right? When I'm not conscious, I go there and then I'm like, wait a second, I have to check in with myself. Why am I feeling this? Why do I have anxiety? Why am I feeling fearful? Right. Why am I hyped? I'm like, okay, because I'm just going back to my old self.
Right.
Let me just breathe in, take a second, right? Just like, okay, regroup and retrain. Because right now, I've trained myself the way my mind works. There's certain rivers that have flown, and now I'm just taking a machete and trying to go down a new path.
Right.
And that takes time. It takes energy. So it takes practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's important to have that structure of friends, mentor, reading, connecting with rabbis or different thought leaders that help you just like refocus and like, hey, you're doing great.
Totally.
Yeah, moving forward.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. And take time to like cradle that little child within, It's important. Like you said, the ego is so fragile.
Yeah.
Like, where in one's life, maybe perhaps you just want to, you need some love.
Yeah. Self-love. We were talking about that before.
Self-love, yes. Why do you think though the self-love conversation is so prevalent today? It's in everybody's conversation more now than ever, so to speak.
I don't know. I feel like it's actually not from such a great place. I feel like we've become a lot more of a selfish society. And I think social media and Instagram, we are looking at ourselves as we talk to everyone else. What is that? I'm talking to you now. This is a normal conversation. Yeah. But when I'm talking to everyone else, I'm watching myself in like a camera.
Yes, sure.
And like as I'm talking to everyone, right? That's what women do at least.
Right.
We're literally
moving the hair, making sure it's all good.
Totally. And so I'm just saying we have been reflecting back on ourselves so much that I think it's like an overcompensation. I think it's almost too much in my. It's very sort of an anti-societal comment. I'm getting very racy.
Putting out there, you have an opinion, and I'm glad you're sharing it. How do you find a balance between, because a big part of your business and what you've learned, broadcasting, journalism, and now this day it's brought through social media. how do you use that as a healthy tool? And do you catch yourself perhaps overextending yourself within that sphere?
All the time. I think that we're all figuring out as we go. It became like share a little bit of yourself because that authenticity, that's what people are connecting to. And then it became everyone and their mother has their own reality show of themselves, their relationships, their, with their kids, with their husbands. And I don't think that that's particularly healthy. So it's like, how do you share just enough to let people know that you empathize with them and that you're going through something similar without like
showing it all.
Yeah.
Being authentic, being real, connecting. So there is an element you would say that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that there's something precious about keeping something to self.
Think so.
And you don't have to show everything.
No, and I think as a woman, so we have this mitzvah of modesty and sneas, and I think that we very much, especially with social media, have to safeguard that. And there's an element, that's not saying I'm not with a paper bag over my head hiding out in a closet by any means. I'm the opposite of that. But at the same time, there has to be certain parts of your life and yourself and your thoughts and your fears and your relationships that have to still remain private. And I think that's what keeps them sacred. I think at one point when you put too much out there and that oversharing, I think it actually just takes away from the preciousness of life and what we're all trying to do here on this planet.
Yeah.
Back in the self-love.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Do you love yourself?
No, I told you I'm no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh gosh. Because you don't it's really hard to be a working mother.
I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I literally can't imagine.
And you will never be able to even understand it.
I'm not in your shoes.
There is a guilt that exists when every time a mother is away, and you always wonder about like career over kids and over relationships. For men who travel, I live in Israel, so I go a few times a year, but there's some people that are traveling weekly and they're just home for Shabbos, or it's there 1 week on, 1 week off, or that kind of thing. They don't leave the home with the same level of guilt that a mother does.
Wow.
And I always wonder about that, now that my career is at a certain place where I almost can't stop it, and my kids are at a certain place where they need me more than they ever did. It was almost easier when they were babies.
Yeah, now they were in the
teenagers, and so they need so much.
And you're traveling, so that balance, that guilt of not being there for them.
That's really hard on a mom.
Do you express that to them?
Then they express it to me too. Like sometimes they say, why can't you just be a teacher? Because then we would all be off at the same time. My busy seasons, I travel the week before Hanukkah, the week before Pesach, the week before Rosh Hashanah, so, and then now it's funny, they're so invested. They used to say things like that. And now they're just like, before I go to, they know like when I have a big business meeting, should be with bracha, should be with hatzlacha, should be, they're just like so cute. So, we talk about it all. And obviously the hope is that it's quantity over quality. Sure. That's kind of like with everything in life. But as a mom, it's just, you just always think I need to be there. And I wasn't there at that moment, at that time, at that something. I've missed plays. I've missed parent-teacher conferences. I get looks all the time because it's not typical, that you're in the country now, from like one of the teachers or type of thing.
Little snide little remark.
More just like, I don't know if it's snide if they mean it like that, but like, oh, nice to see you. I went to parent-teacher conferences last week, and she literally said, and I think she meant it emistic, like from a real place. She said, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come. And I was thinking, like, this is my kid. Like, she didn't thank anyone else for like that with that level of emphasis for coming. And I'm like, how am I not showing up that you're so happy that I am showing up?
Right.
So it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot. It's also a lot of pressure, and I hear that. I mean, I can never understand that from my mother's perspective. And I think it also attests to show how much dedication you have to your career and to your focus. And perhaps someone who's listening to it's not an overnight success. It takes so much sacrifice. To grow, to build, to start something new and fresh, and to continue that.
There's two phases to building a company and building a successful business. One is getting it off the ground and launching it, and then the other one is sustaining it and continuing to innovate over time while sustaining and while growing and while strategizing in terms of the next step. Sure. And especially in media, it's like literally you're feeding a machine. It's like this never-ending. You can't create enough content, and so I just think it's like. Looks glamorous, especially for women. So we're getting our makeup done. We're doing hair. What are we wearing? What is our bling? What's our jewels? What's our, and like people see you in front of the camera and you're like with lights and you're on live TV. But the bottom line, there's so much work and sacrifice behind all of that.
What's one thing that perhaps it looks like one way on your social media and the way you're living, and that it's perhaps not that way?
Oh, well, I only go on social when I look good.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying like when
Wait,
I feel...
you didn't wake up this way?
Yeah, no. I shared with everyone that I spent an hour in hair and makeup before I came
Beautiful.
here. But no, when I'm like working my pajamas and like in a snood and feeling blah and like, like eating tuna out of a can because I didn't have time to make lunch, that does not make it to social.
I hear that.
And some people are like, you need to show authentic and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I actually want to show a curated representation. Like, why?
Who wants to see Jamie eating a tuna out of a can?
With no makeup and like bags down to my chin. No, thank you.
Yeah. The untold story. But now, listen, we're hearing it here and we're sharing that. I think it's also so important. When I came out talking about depression and the struggles I had with that and the challenges that through today, I think that I've worked on myself. I'll continue working on myself, and it's never. I think I never stop and will never stop.
Yeah.
But when I decided to do that, I thought it would also be career suicide because my whole brand is around positivity and happiness and such. And I also realized through just connecting with people and reflecting with them, realizing I was depriving people of. I was just giving an unrealistic benchmark of what someone could be as a human, which is impossible. You can always just be go, on, happy. So and I've realized through that experience that it helped me just be more authentic with myself, able to show up in life a lot more real, and also allow people to have the feelings that they want to feel, which could be mixed, right? It's muddled waters. Not always is it just one thing.
It's no one. We are so complex.
So complex.
And so we're not, and no, I mean, I do show myself sometimes like literally in a scarf and like, oh my gosh, I have so much work, I'm not going to make it. But I say that for stories, right? Because that goes away in 24 hours.
Just around, but then you're gone.
So you feel like, okay, I shared a piece of myself, but it's not like going to live forever. Even though in theory, you could delete the feed also. But the feed I keep a little bit more as representative of the brand. And like in stories is where you're a little bit more of what you just said, where it's a little bit about like kind of what's really going on. But I think it's important that you shared that. I think it's so courageous.
Oh,
what like made you be able to do that?
That's
like what was that step?
I actually appreciate. I love it. Sometimes with guests, I'm one always just asking.
Yeah,
it's nice to receive the question.
Yes, I'm interested.
Throw it back.
The podcast is a conversation, right?
It's a total conversation.
Yeah, not one way.
What inspired me to go about doing the mic drop? It was before leading up to the mic drop. It was almost a year ago actually. So it was December of 2018.
Your anniversary.
Yeah, coming up on it. It was during that summertime and then through the holidays, I just found myself in a very sad and dark place. I had content lined up, so I was still posting and stuff. I wasn't really engaging much with creation, and it was sort of blocked. When I found myself in these places, creativity can live in the same place of sadness and like in depression.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a catch-22 because if I'm not creating, if I'm not tapping into my passion, then it just makes me more feeling like undeveloped. I'm not being productive, and it just continues. So you have to break that cycle. So it was just during that time, and I was like starting to go see therapists again. I was going to just reaching out to friends, like what. First, I wasn't reaching out to anybody. I was isolating myself, and then it came to a point where okay, I need to reach out. So I started going to therapy. Started just reaching out to friends. And then a friend of mine reached out and she suggested about Mic Drop, which just started off at the time. And there was this guy runs a Rush Low, and he has a really good knack with people. He's just a really good person and has a really incredible ear to really hearing what someone's saying or what they're not saying. And so I did some work with him, and I wrote down my story, and developed it. And I wasn't planning to share it publicly. Right. Okay, one thing. I feel pretty good now.
Yeah.
I got it out. Yeah. It just just a little bit. And then I went to actually a mic drop event where I heard some people talk. Fish Spiegelman, Shirley Richler, and their talks are online. So, and it's really incredible to see their vulnerability and to see them stepping up and seeing the power, how much empower them and people in the crowd, how much it moved everybody in the room. So I decided, you know what, this is something that I want to do. And I reached out to Rush and I booked a flight to Miami, the next event. I was like, when's your next event? I want to be part of it. And I flew down to Miami for that one day, and I shared my story on the stage there. And it was frightening, it was scary, and even afterwards, I had, which I hear from other people who've shared in similar circumstances, I had vulnerability hangover. Just like afterwards, like it's like a week later, like, oh my God, what did I just do? I just I can't believe I did that. So that fear comes back. It's like, oh my gosh. And it's natural, it's normal. And it was less of a speech of like just like spewing and just putting my garbage on other people, but I really wanted to focus on like, yes, this is part of my journey, but it's not where I'm at today, or it's not something that I just wallow in.
Right.
It's just a place of empowerment of like, and through that I was able to connect with people on a much deeper level. People reached out, they shared their stories, what they're going through, and I do believe that as many people who have come over and expressed it, there are many people who are not in a place where they want to, or they're going through it, and the message is you're not alone. And it's about connecting and like, hey, you know, whatever you're going through at the time, and it doesn't necessarily have to be what I've gone through in the same specific manner. But ultimately, whatever you're feeling, there's someone out there, and many people out there who are going through that same thing, and you don't have to do it alone. And I think coming from a stage and a place where a lot of things were just, you know, put on the makeup, look good, put the hair up, you know, or even as a man, you know. You're the man, feelings, shut it down, put everything under the rug, don't express it. I remember my first time coming out talking about depression, which was like a few years ago before this mic drop. And there was some resistance within my family about like, what about a shidduch? You know, maybe don't use the word depressed. You know, just change the language a bit. Like, they were my publicist. Yeah, exactly.
Don't use dump.
Right, don't use dump. And I just, what's the point? You know, like, I mean, I would love to connect with somebody on a level where they know me for who I am. You know, what's the point waking up a year later or even the day after the marriage, so to speak, and like, oh, by the way, this is who I am. Right. It doesn't really serve anybody that purpose and anybody good. So it's a great conversation to be in. I'm happy to be in the space of mindfulness and mental health, and also still portray and still be very genuine, authentic in joy and positivity. And I think those two mesh. It makes things more real and more. It's all interconnected.
I think they do very much. And I think people that have a tremendous amount of light and energy, they're one side of a coin. So they very easily can go to the other side. That medium ground is not really for them, you know? And I think that is why a lot of performers and a lot of people that have that, so they also it has the other side, you know, and when things are hard, they're very hard. You're passionately having a difficult time, you know?
That's correct.
And I do think, and that's what I was talking about, that area of modesty before and sharing. I do think it's okay to share a little bit or more, I'm saying, of what's going on. It allows you to just live a little bit less of what sometimes you feel like is a lie.
Yes.
You know? And so that's why I think you asked me a few questions, which you probably weren't expecting the answers to. Or like, every day every day I feel like this. Every day
totally.
This is hard.
Oh my gosh.
I have tremendous guilt. No, I don't always love myself. You know, and I think it's okay to say some of those things, you know?
Yeah, and 100%. I appreciate you sharing that full and honesty. And I'm sure we came from talking about food and
we're in the kitchen
and interior design and like,
I love interior design.
I love interior design. Oh my gosh.
Do you know why I love it?
Why is that?
Because it's so perfect. You look at the picture and everything is in its place, just as it should be. And my husband keeps saying to me, that's the page of a magazine. That's not life. But I'm like, but I want my kitchen to look just like that. He's like, yes, but that's in a magazine. You don't see any kids running around. You don't see guests running around, like, you know. Right. But there's something about it that just like relaxes me because everything is just in its place.
Just in its place. Yeah. Right. But I guess it's that balance of wanting X, but then,
then
getting it totally different. And life shows up.
Yeah. So an all-white kitchen might not be a good idea. I'm not sure yet.
So to pivot to back to some quick food questions.
Sure.
Do you have a favorite food?
Avocado. Oh, okay. Tons. Avocado.
Okay. Favorites food. Then here we go.
Yeah. Avocado, extra virgin olive oil, kosher salt, and everything dessert.
Okay.
Dessert's my favorite course.
What's your favorite dish that you like to create?
I love making brisket. I love it. I just feel like everyone loves it. It's so comforting. It makes the house smell so good. And I feel like that I have the mother's guilt. So I feel like this nurturing mother when I'm making brisket for the family. Okay.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody in the space of food of that you look up to, that you admire?
Yeah, for sure. I love Martha Stewart because I love the brand that she has created and over time and sustained. A lot of times, like as a celebrity, you can have your moments, right? Yes. And as you age, especially as a woman, I think that's also, and she even went to jail and came back from that. And then she reinvented herself with like a cooking show with Snoop Dogg on VH1. Yes. So I just love that about her. I love Rachel Ray because I think she was one of the first to be like, you can do it quick. You don't have to be growing your own herbs, you know? Nice, so I love that because it just made it accessible to me. I felt like I could relate to that kind of cooking. And I love Gordon Ramsay because I love his like, just settles for nothing less than perfection.
Very
So it's
good.
like the combo of those three.
Of all those things. That's amazing. What does before we get there, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm gonna say it for last. What with the growth of social media and all that's happening today, do you feel a little threatened, fearful of now there's a lot more people out there in this space? Or are you excited about it? What are your feelings around this new era?
So I feel like we're having this like totally honest chat. So yeah, I think it's so threatening. I think it's so fearful. I think it's so many people doing so much and there's so much noise and it's so hard to break through the noise. And not only does the best content or the best creativity or the highest quality win, sometimes something else is winning. And so, yeah, I do think it's very hard in the space now. So
what are ways for you to pivot and to learn and to grow? Are you working on some new things? Is that a conversation you're having with your team? All the time. And so first and foremost, Instagram is like not the most important platform to me. And I think that it's like, for some people, they live and die and breathe by it. Yeah, that's the platform. I think it's so important. And you're on many platforms also to diversify. Yeah. And especially because we know what's going on with algorithms, this and that. You don't own those Instagram followers. And one day you will not be able to reach them unless you pay a lot. And so that's why it's important to be on Facebook and to be on Instagram, even though they're both owned by the same people, but different things are happening there. And to be on YouTube and to have a website and to have the most valuable thing that I have is my email list. Okay. And that is the one thing that you actually own, that no one can take away from you. And as long as you're producing incredible content, you're able to communicate directly to those people that have opted in to follow you and to sign up for you. So that is one of the most coveted marketing tools that we have these days and that we will continue to have, and that it's gone in and out of like sort of vogue at one point, but I just feel like I continue to nurture that list. And those are what I'll call my most hardcore, obsessive brand ambassadors. They're the first early adapters to every new product that I put out. That's the number one converting channel for any new business that I'm selling or anything that I'm doing. So to do that, do live events, to make sure we're doing crazy amounts of PR. So I love to do every podcast. Some people are like, you'll say yes to my podcast? Not you, Meir. Of course I do. But I'm not. I appreciate you. No, but I'm saying like, even small people, because, and I'm like, of course, like it's just, you need to be out there in every single way, shape or form, because you can't all double down on this one platform that who knows what tomorrow. That's true. And now you want me to TikTok. And you gotta get on TikTok. From all your 6 kids, no one got you again on TikTok yet? Yeah, but you have to also know for what your company is and what your brand and what it is you're selling, which platforms make sense. Like Pinterest makes sense for us. We're on it and we're very successful there. Twitter does not. So TikTok doesn't really make sense for us. I can get how certain people with a different business model, different demographic, a different goal, but right now the demographic on there is not my customer right now. Yes. So yeah. You may be able to argue that like right now the algorithm is so strong. It's like what Instagram or Facebook was 5 years ago. Yeah. Maybe build that, build it now. So then later on people will transfer if they ever transfer. Right. Just thoughts. I can see you in the kitchen having some fun with me. Deep thoughts, yeah. Deep thoughts and TikTok. I don't think together, but possibly. And to end it all off, Jamie, what's a great day for you? What's that look like? Okay, a great day is Shabbos morning, because it's a hard Friday night to still disconnect. Like you're still carrying some of that, right? Because your day started like it as a normal day. Yeah. So by Saturday morning, by Shabbos morning, I feel like I'm totally disconnected from the daily life. And I have a chance to be with my family with zero distractions. And as that guilty mom thing, it's so important to me. Now my kids are old enough that I actually go to synagogue. Which is crazy. I think I don't know if I went my whole life to synagogue. Now I'm like, I like going, to shul and the meals that just stretch on forever. And there's like nowhere to go and nowhere to be, and no one's in a rush. And so that's a great day. And then probably Motzei Shabbos, right, which is Saturday night, not turning on my phone. If I can manage that till Sunday morning, then that was a great day. I love that. That's beautiful. Jamie, I can't thank you enough for being on the podcast and for sharing so much of you and with me and with the listeners. Thank you, and wishing you much, much hatzlacha and success in everything that you're doing. Amen. The same to you. This was like the best podcast ever. Thank you. Yeah, Thank you. So, I just feel like I should pay you for this. It's incredible. Hey, you know what? keep on keeping on. I'd love to have you again, and can't wait. I'll be watching you. Okay, you too.